You know that feeling when you're watching a movie and you suddenly realize you've missed something crucial? Like there was this whole subplot happening right in front of you, but somehow it just sailed past without you even noticing? Well, that's exactly what happens to most men every single day when they're around women. Here's the thing, nobody tells you. A woman is never going to march up to you, look you dead in the eye, and announce that she's decided she likes you and that you should probably do something about it immediately. That's just not how any of this works. Instead, there's this entire silent conversation happening that most guys are completely oblivious to. Women communicate through their bodies in ways that don't require a single word to be spoken. It's like this ancient language that's been passed down through generations, and it all boils down to one simple message. I'm open to you, and I want to see where this could go. The problem is, if you miss these signals, she's usually not going to give you a second chance. She'll just redirect all that warm, interested energy towards someone else who's actually paying attention. I know that might sting a little to hear, but it's the truth. There was actually this fascinating study published in the Journal of Nonverbal Behavior that discovered something pretty mind-blowing. Researchers found that women typically send out around 5 different signals of attraction before a man even registers the first one. Just stop and think about that for a second. 5 whole signals. That means by the time you finally have that light bulb moment where you think to yourself, hey, I think she might actually be into me. She's already been trying to tell you for the past 20 minutes or longer. Now here's where it gets really interesting. The most genuine signals don't come from her eyes or her smile, even though that's what most people would assume. They come from her hands. And there's a solid reason for this. Your hands are probably the one part of your body that you almost never consciously control. Think about it. Your face can put on a polite smile even when you're absolutely miserable. Your voice can sound enthusiastic when you're bored out of your mind. But your hands? They're like truth tellers. They reveal exactly what's going on beneath the surface, whether you want them to or not. So what I'm going to walk you through today are 8 specific hand movements that reveal when a woman is genuinely attracted to you. These are signals that most men walk right past every single day without even registering them. But I have to warn you right now, once you become aware of these signs, you can't unsee them. You'll start noticing them everywhere. At coffee shops, in the office, at parties, on the street. The moment you understand this language, you'll realize just how often women are actually expressing interest. And suddenly there's this pressure because you'll know exactly when she's chosen you. The only question that remains is whether you're brave enough to act on that knowledge. By the time we're done here, you're going to know which movements mean she's curious, which ones mean you should definitely move closer, and which ones mean the window has already shut. Please stick with me all the way through because that 8th sign is absolutely critical. It's the difference between men who create real connections and men who go home wondering why nothing ever seems to work out. So let's dive into these 8 signals. The first one is something you've probably seen 1,000 times without understanding what it meant. When a woman is attracted to you, her hand will naturally drift toward her hair. But here's the key detail that most people miss. It's not just about touching her hair. There's a very specific pattern to watch for. She'll reach up and touch her hair near the side of her face or tuck it gently behind her ear. Then, and this is the crucial part, she'll let her hand slowly glide down toward her neck or her collarbone. That slow, lingering descent is what you need to pay attention to. A woman who's simply adjusting her hair will do it quickly and mechanically, then drop her hand back down. But a woman who's feeling a spark with you will let her hand linger. She'll slow the movement down deliberately. Without even realizing what she's doing, she's trying to draw your attention to her neck. From an evolutionary psychology perspective, exposing your neck is an ancient gesture of trust and vulnerability. It's one of the most delicate and unprotected parts of the human body. By showing it to you, her body is essentially saying, I feel safe with you. I'm open to becoming closer to you. There's this researcher named Dr. Monica Moore at Webster University who spent over 2,000 hours observing women's behavior in social settings. She discovered that this specific hair touch combined with neck exposure was one of the 3 most reliable indicators of female attraction. That's an incredible amount of observation time backing up this pattern. So if you're sitting across from someone and her hand keeps floating up to her hair and then drifting down to her neck, she's not just fidgeting nervously, she's extending an invitation. And if you don't respond by saying something warm or leaning in slightly closer, she's going to assume you're not interested. She might go quiet or start pulling back because from her perspective, you completely missed the signal she was sending. The second signal is subtle enough that it flies under most people's radar completely. When a woman starts slowly running her fingers along objects on the table, maybe tracing the stem of a wine glass, circling the rim of a coffee cup, touching the corner of a menu, or playing with the strap of her purse, she's engaging in what psychologists call tactile displacement. Essentially, what's happening is that she wants to touch you. But since it might be too forward to reach out and take your hand when you've only just met, her brain redirects that impulse toward the nearest available object. Just pause and think about how remarkable that is for a moment. Her body is so drawn to you that she has to channel that energy into touching something, anything, just to manage the tension that's building between you. Researchers at the University of Manchester discovered that these kinds of tactile behaviors increase by roughly 60% when someone is sitting with a person they find attractive. 60%. So when you notice her fingers tracing lazy circles around her glass or stroking the edge of a napkin, she's not zoning out or bored. She's experiencing desire that she's trying to keep under wraps. Most men observe this and assume she's just playing absent-mindedly with whatever's in front of her. They couldn't be more wrong. She's essentially rehearsing what it would feel like to touch your arm, except she can't quite bring herself to do that yet when you've only known each other for 15 minutes. Which brings us directly to the third signal. When a woman actually extends her hand and touches your arm during conversation, she's crossed a significant threshold. Physical touch is the most powerful tool a woman has to communicate interest. It's inherently intentional because she has to enter your personal space to make it happen. Generally speaking, women don't go around touching people they don't have feelings for. If she places her hand on your forearm while laughing at something you said, that's not accidental. If she taps your shoulder to emphasize a point, she's testing the waters. What she's really doing is gauging your reaction to her touch. Do you lean toward her? Do you smile and maintain eye contact? Do you reciprocate with a gentle touch of your own? Your response tells her everything she needs to know about whether it's safe to continue. A study published in a major psychology journal showed that light touch during conversation makes people perceive each other as 40% more attractive. Think about the implications of that. When she touches you, she's not just communicating that she likes you. She's actually making herself more appealing in your eyes in that exact moment. Women understand this instinctively. That small touch on the arm is a strategic move. If she touches you once, she's interested. If she does it twice, she's very interested. If she does it 3 times and you still haven't reciprocated or moved closer, she's going to start assuming you're simply not attracted to her. The fourth signal is one that almost everyone overlooks, yet it might be the most honest indicator on this entire list. When a woman shows you the inside of her hands, her palms, while speaking with you, it's a gesture of profound trust. She might rest her hands on the table with palms facing upward, or she might gesture expressively while talking so that you naturally see the centers of her hands. This is her body's way of demonstrating openness and receptivity. When someone keeps their hands closed, tucked into pockets, or curled into fists, they're feeling guarded and protective. They're maintaining emotional distance. But open palms communicate something entirely different. They say, I have nothing to hide from you. I'm receptive to what you have to say. From an evolutionary standpoint, this gesture reaches back to our earliest ancestors. Showing your palms meant you weren't carrying weapons. It meant you came in peace. Even in modern times, it remains a hardwired signal of trust and openness. So when she's being animated with her hands and you can clearly see her palms, she's literally opening herself to you emotionally and mentally. Most of the time, she's not even conscious of doing it. Her body is simply responding to the fact that she feels comfortable and attracted to you. Now we're getting into signals that leave very little room for interpretation. If a woman finds any excuse to let her fingers brush against yours, she's made a decision about you. Maybe she wants to compare hand sizes, or she jokes about reading your palm, or she just happens to let her fingers graze yours when passing you something. This is significant. Hand-to-hand contact is one of the most intimate gestures two people can share before they're actually in a relationship. Our hands contain more nerve endings than almost anywhere else on our bodies. When her fingers touch yours, both of your brains release a small amount of oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone. It's the same chemical that creates attachment between mothers and babies, between romantic partners. She feels that little spark of connection, and she knows you feel it too. This is where many men make a critical error. She creates this delicate bridge between her body and yours, and instead of allowing the moment to exist, the guy jerks his hand away like he's accidentally touched a hot stove. When you do that, the magic evaporates instantly. The door closes. When her fingers touch yours, stay present. Don't rush away from the contact. Let the sensation linger for a moment. If you can remain calm and confident during that touch, she sees that you're a man who isn't afraid of intimacy, and that's deeply attractive. The sixth signal involves another vulnerable part of the body. Just like the neck, the inner wrist is an incredibly delicate and exposed area. The skin is thin, and the veins are visible right beneath the surface. Historically, exposing this part of your body was a sign of complete defenselessness. When a woman allows her wrists to remain visible and oriented toward you, perhaps while playing with a bracelet or resting her chin on her hand with her wrist turned in your direction, she's transmitting a profound message of trust. This originates from the most primitive part of our brain, the part concerned with survival. Displaying your vulnerable areas to someone signals that you trust them not to harm you. Dr. David Givens, an expert in nonverbal communication, has stated that wrist exposure is an exceptionally strong indicator of romantic interest. It's nearly impossible to fake because it happens so automatically when we feel safe with someone. If you're on a date and you notice her wrists are open and facing you, she's communicating that she's lowered her defenses. If you observe this signal and don't attempt to close the distance or reach for her hand, you're essentially rejecting the trust she's offering. And when a woman feels her trust has been dismissed, she rarely extends it again. The seventh signal is an excellent way to gauge whether she's ready for things to progress. Mirroring happens when one person unconsciously copies the movements of another. If you gently touch her arm and then, several minutes later, she touches your arm in a similar way, that's mirroring. If you lean forward and she leans forward too, she's matching your energy. This is her way of communicating, yes, I like what's happening here. Please continue. Mirroring indicates that two people are synchronized and on the same wavelength. When it involves touch, it's essentially a green light. It means she's not just passively accepting your proximity. She's actively participating in building that connection. Many men fail to notice whether a woman reciprocates their touch. They're too preoccupied with what to say next or how to avoid awkward silence. But if you pay attention to whether she mirrors your gestures, you'll know exactly where you stand. If she mirrors you, it's a clear signal to proceed. If she doesn't, she might need more time, or she might simply want to remain friends. Either way, you won't have to waste energy guessing. And now we arrive at the eighth and most powerful signal on this entire list. This is the one that truly separates friendly interest from romantic intention. It's called sustained contact. This is when a woman places her hand on you and leaves it there. Maybe she rests her hand on your knee while you're talking, or keeps her hand on your chest while she's laughing, or places her hand on the small of your back while you're walking together. A brief touch can be ambiguous. It might even be accidental. But sustained contact is unmistakably deliberate. She's announcing to you, and to anyone watching, that she's comfortable occupying your personal space. She's dissolving the boundary between casual and intimate. This is the signal that translates to the window is open right now. Please walk through it. She's waiting for you to recognize that the barrier has been removed and that she's ready for genuine connection. Here's what you absolutely need to understand, though. These signals don't last indefinitely. They come with an expiration date. A woman will not continue broadcasting these messages for hours on end if you fail to respond. She'll try one approach, then perhaps another, maybe a third. If she receives nothing in return from you, no reciprocal smile, no touch, no movement closer, she'll retract all those signals like she's reeling in a fishing line. And once she pulls them back, they're typically gone permanently. I've witnessed this pattern unfold countless times. A woman will be doing absolutely everything within her power to demonstrate interest through her hands and body language. The man just sits there, either completely oblivious or paralyzed by fear of making a move. Eventually, the woman surrenders. She folds her hands in her lap. She angles her body away. She starts checking her phone. Meanwhile, the man sits there bewildered, wondering why the atmosphere changed so abruptly. The atmosphere changed because she handed him a roadmap and he refused to follow it. The timer starts the moment she sends that first signal. If you respond with warmth and gentle reciprocation, the window remains open. If you hesitate too long, it closes. It doesn't slam shut dramatically. It closes with a soft, almost inaudible click. And that's the saddest sound because you won't even realize you've missed your opportunity until it's already too late. So now you're armed with knowledge. Watch for the hair touch that slides down to the neck. Notice when her fingers play with objects on the table. Pay attention when she touches your arm. Look for those open palms and exposed wrists. Observe whether she mirrors your touch. And above all, watch for her hand remaining on your arm or knee. Every single one of these gestures is her way of communicating. I've chosen you. Now it's your turn to choose me back. You don't need sophisticated pickup lines or elaborate strategies to choose her back. You simply need to act. Return her touch. Take her hand. Move incrementally closer. Demonstrate that you received every quiet message she transmitted. The beautiful thing about understanding this silent language is that it removes so much unnecessary confusion from human interaction. You're no longer wandering in the dark, hoping you're reading the situation correctly. You have concrete, observable behaviors to guide you. And here's something else worth considering. When you start recognizing these signals, you'll probably be amazed at how often they've been happening around you all along. That woman at the coffee shop who always seems happy to see you. That colleague who finds excuses to stop by your desk. That friend of a friend who lights up when you enter the room. Suddenly, you'll see that the world is full of possibilities you were simply blind to before. It's not that you weren't attractive or interesting. You just weren't fluent in the language being spoken. But there's a responsibility that comes with this knowledge too. Once you can clearly read these signals, you need to be honest in your responses. If you're not interested in someone who's showing you these signs, the kindest thing you can do is create gentle distance rather than leading them on. Don't accept sustained touch if you have no intention of pursuing anything. Don't mirror someone's gestures if you're just being friendly. The language works both ways, and you have the power to communicate clearly too. On the other hand, if you are interested, then for heaven's sake, act on it. Don't let fear or overthinking rob you of genuine connection. One of the saddest things in human experience is two people who are attracted to each other but never quite bridge that gap because both are waiting for some kind of absolute certainty that will never arrive. Life doesn't offer guarantees. It offers moments. And these hand signals are her way of saying, this is a moment. Are you going to take it? The truth is, most meaningful relationships begin with someone being brave enough to acknowledge what's unspoken. Someone has to be willing to step into that uncertain space and say, through words or actions, I see you. I feel this too. Let's find out where it goes. More often than not, women are already doing their part. They're sending signal after signal, creating opportunities, making themselves vulnerable. What's often missing is a man who's paying enough attention to recognize those invitations and confident enough to accept them. So as you move forward from here, I want you to practice presence. Put down your phone when you're with someone. Actually look at people when they're talking to you. Notice not just what they're saying with their words, but what their bodies are communicating. You'll be absolutely shocked at how much information is flowing beneath the surface of every interaction. And when you see these hand signals appearing, don't second guess yourself into paralysis. Trust what you're observing. She's tucking her hair and touching her neck repeatedly. She's playing with her glass while looking at you. She's found 3 reasons to touch your arm in 10 minutes. She's showing you her palms and her wrists. She's mirroring every move you make. She's resting her hand on your knee and leaving it there. These aren't coincidences or accidents. They're invitations written in the oldest language humans have. Your job is simply to be attentive enough to read them and brave enough to respond. Move closer. Hold her gaze. Return her touch. Let your hand linger when hers brushes against it. Create opportunities for sustained contact. Show her that you're not afraid of where this might lead. Because here's the thing that nobody really tells you about attraction and connection. It's not actually that complicated. We've built up all these elaborate stories and strategies around it, but at its core, it's remarkably simple. 2 people feel drawn to each other. They communicate that through their bodies. They respond to each other's signals. They allow closeness to develop naturally. That's it. That's the whole mechanism. What makes it seem complicated is fear. Fear of rejection. Fear of misreading the situation. Fear of being too forward or not forward enough. But when you understand this silent language of hands, so much of that fear dissolves because you're no longer guessing. You're reading clear signals that have been consistent across cultures and throughout human history. When she shows you her neck, her wrists, her palms, when she touches you and leaves her hand there, she's not being subtle. She's being about as direct as this ancient language allows. The only question is whether you're going to honor that directness with action. So go forward with this knowledge. Watch for these 8 signals. Recognize them when they appear. And when you see them, be brave enough to step into the possibility they represent. Don't let another opportunity slip past because you were too distracted or too afraid. Life is genuinely too short to spend it wondering what might have been if only you'd paid attention to what her hands were telling you. The world is full of people hoping to connect, sending out signals, waiting for someone to finally see them and respond. Be the person who sees. Be the person who responds. Be present, be observant, and be brave. That's all it really takes.